the way creatives are going to stand out in the AI era is to be exquisite and also do exquisite work. Um, you can define exquisite however you like. It's not just refined stuff. You can make an exquisite taco, right? And you can make an exquisite mud puddle. Like, but there's something about it. And what it comes down to for me is that you have a soul, Greg, because you're a human, and I have a soul. And when someone pours their soul into something, a piece of music, let's say, or a work of art, like that's hanging behind you, you can feel it.
Hi, everyone. I am delighted to be here with Coach Kat Koh. She is a creative career coach, a graduate of Academy for Coaching Excellent, professional certified coach with ICF. She's been coaching for 10 years, and it's just a privilege to have you here for this Coach Spotlight interview. How you doing, Kat?
I'm great. I'm so happy to be here. Thanks, Greg, for inviting me.
Absolutely. I'm excited for this conversation. There's a lot I want to talk with you about, and I love to open these Spotlight interviews with, what are you celebrating right now?
Gosh, so many things. I think, namely, it's my 10th year of coaching this year. So I'm definitely celebrating that because it's been a ride.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I feel paradoxically like very seasoned, but also brand new baby at the same time. It's very strange.
Yep. Well, it's kind of the experience of being a lifelong learner, I think.
Yeah, that's right.
Good. Well, yeah, I'm excited for this conversation because we've done these interviews for people kind of at various points in their coaching career, and I think it's so useful for people, especially if they're thinking about becoming coach for the first time, to see someone who's been doing it for 10 years so that they can see a little bit of the arc of the journey. Well, let's start with who do you coach? Who's your kind of ideal client? Who do you love working with?
Mhm. Uh, I coach what's otherwise called creatives. What does that mean, right? Because we're all creative, in my opinion. Um, I tend to coach designers, writers, filmmakers, musicians, architects, artists. Everyone is an artist in their soul, I would say.
What do you love about coaching creatives? Why creatives?
Well, I've gotten this question before, and I really didn't have a choice, to be honest with you. It's not like I sat there and I like, spun the globe and I like landed on creatives. Um, oh, sorry, that light's gonna just keep turning off, but I hope the lighting's okay right now.
Yeah, it's
Um,
fine.
uh, why creatives? I, again, it wasn't really a choice for me because it starts with my parents, I think. Probably further back than that, but my mom, had she stayed in South Korea, she would have been a ceramics teacher at the university level because that's what all her friends do now. And my dad is an anthropologist and historian at heart and just loves old documentaries, researching old civilizations, and reading the tea leaves of the world, you know. And so I was raised with creativity in the house. Like my mom, they didn't have very much money. We were poor basically for a long time. But she scoured like the community center pamphlets and catalogs. She put me in every form of creative expression she could possibly manage. Um, Finger painting to swimming to ballet, tap, jazz, gymnastics, Spanish, just everything she could put in my hands, she did. So, it starts very far away. But to answer your question more concretely, um, my previous career was being a curator. So I curated contemporary art in museums, and I was trained to do that in grad school and beyond, in internships. And so when I left that career, it was never a question for me who I was going to coach. I'm just dedicated to the artists of the world. So that's what
Yeah,
happened. Yeah.
great. Well, that's so I hear you. It's kind of like you had no choice but to work with creatives, given just that's who you are. That's your life. So I guess the next question would be, well, then why coaching?
Right. Well, I went through my own dark night of the soul around career because so with art history and curatorial and specifically, you rack up if you get into that game, like you rack up a resume that's just all art history, all museums. Like that's all there is. It's super specific. And so if you've invested over 10 years of your life doing that, like I did, and then all of a sudden realize that's not what you want to do anymore, you have a freaking panic attack, is what happens. And so I hired, to her credit, she did not call herself a coach because she knew she wasn't properly trained, but trained through the ICF channels. She called herself a mentor. And I worked with her for 6 months, which is, just like kind of standard coaching length of time. And I was just blown away by how much was illuminated in that time compared to like going on 5 years with my therapist in New York. Like, you know, um, very similar to like Maria Nemeth's stance on that. So I was like, wow. And then I just realized this is what I was spending most of grad school doing. I would sit in what was called the marble room of my grad school, and everyone was so unhappy. You're very unhappy as a humanities grad school student. And so I would basically like play therapist most of the time, and then I would like scramble and write my papers. And it all just kind of became very clear to me. And I mean, I have to also shout out my younger sister because she's 6 years younger than I am. And my parents decided you're totally in charge of her success in life. Like, you're going to get her into college, you're going to make sure she finds the right career for her, no pressure, right? So I was given that task at a very young, at age 6. And so it's not foreign to me to coach.
And so in many ways, you've been coaching since you were 6 years old.
In some ways, yeah. Trying. I think
Yeah.
there was a lot of like, bumbling and giving advice that was unsolicited advice even
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
for many years. But yeah,
Sure. I've never done that. I've never given one.
no, you don't seem like it.
Um, well, I love it, and kind of leads into another question because I think what you're describing is I know so many coaches who go through ACE program and get trained that have a similar experience. It's just it was kind of already naturally doing that. People were already coming to me for something like coaching or guidance, and so it was just a natural way to move that into a career. But I'm curious because you've been coaching in different capacities, and I think even professionally for a couple of years in some way before getting trained. So I wonder what had you make the decision to not just get some training, but to go through, a rigorous training program, to invest the time and money, take a couple of years and go through a level 2 ICF program. What had you choose that path as a coach?
Yeah. Well, you might relate to this, and I'm sure a lot of other coaches might relate to this, but it was pain. It was the pain of coaching without the training because I was just deer in headlights so much, and I was obsessed with trying to find the right thing to say. What is the right thing to say, you know? And it still haunts me from time to time, but way less now, 10 years in after proper training. And I just I knew this was what I wanted to do with my life, but I didn't feel well equipped to do it, like, or equipped enough. And I wouldn't say that. I felt well equipped to do it, but I knew I was like missing something really important that was going to help me. And I started coaching, let's say, I started my coaching business part-time. What year was that? Yeah, 10 years ago now, right? So 2015. And I did what a lot of people did, which was I just started. I was like, okay, because you can. You're unlike therapy, we coaches can just call ourselves a coach and just start hanging our shingle out and making money ostensibly, right? But you quickly find out that there's that it's very difficult that way. You run into your own shortcomings a lot, and you have no idea. And you can also do a lot of harm, actually, which I probably did some. Like I think a lot of us, we coach our friends, right? First and foremost. And I I'm not opposed to coaching friends, but I will never coach my best friends, you know, and I will never coach my sister. And that you learn that in training. Um, and also through the pain of actually losing a friend, maybe, because it wasn't handled well. So,
Or
yeah.
at the very least, annoying your friends, right?
Completely. Yeah. Because you have an existing dynamic and you need to do the artful work of transitioning that into a coach client experience. And unless you go to coach training, I don't know where you would actually learn how to do that, you know?
Um, you're speaking of how your training has really supported you to move past your own stopping points, your own personal limiters. So, can you think of an example of how your coach training has supported you to have your own personal breakthroughs to move past your own stopping points as you have built your practice?
Oh my gosh, at every turn. I mean, just to like briefly go back to my history, I'm an oldest daughter of immigrants with a lot of expectation that I was supposed to figure things out and help my parents. So just imagine like a 7-year-old on the phone with PG&E, like disputing a bill. Like I have no business doing that, but that's what I had to do, right? So I had to like act like I knew stuff. And then if I didn't know stuff, I had to find it out. And if I just even didn't know it then, I had to act like it, right? And so coach training slowly but surely sloughed that off of me. And I still have it in me. It's not going anywhere, right? Because it was just so ingrained with me, ingrained in the past. But um, this is particularly relevant in the AI era right now because it's an embarrassment of riches of knowledge, right? Knowledge and expertise. That's what everyone has been trying to get. And AI outdoes us at every turn, like now knowledge-wise. It's like an instant, you know? People go to school for decades to come up with like what AI can come up with in 20 minutes. It's insane. So there is a distinction, something to discern, right? Like we learn in ACE, between knowledge and wisdom. And that is what coach training has helped me like put a lens on and see the world with. It's like, okay, there's a difference between knowledge and wisdom and how that feels in my body also. ACE isn't terribly somatic, but I've gotten a lot of somatic training after going through the program. So that's kind of that I use that quite a bit. And maybe asymptomatic now. I don't know. I haven't been keeping up, but I hope. And um, so sorry, I forgot the question.
Well, yeah, just looking at how going through coach training has supported you to have personal breakthroughs to move past your stopping points.
Yeah, I think when you when you choose this path, I think you become a lifelong learner, which is kind of what we were talking about a few minutes ago. And there are certain qualities, ontological qualities, shall we say, to being a lifelong learner, which is which include being open, being truthful, being active and engaged, you know, um, and also being willing to set aside like your huge ego. I have a big, I have a big ego like the next person, and say, "Oh wow, I like fucked that up. Like that's wrong. And what might I do differently next time?" It's it's a way of being and it's also a way of life, I would say.
Well
So,
said.
yeah, that's in the general. I can give you specifics too, but that's probably what I feel more passionate about.
Yeah, well, great. Well, yeah, I mean, if any specifics come to mind, I'd love to hear. But you brought up kind of existing in the world of AI, in the era of AI, and I think that has a lot of implications both as coaches, well, as anything really, but as a coach and also as a creative. So I know that you've been thinking a lot on something you call exquisite work. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about what you're seeing, what your ideas are.
Yeah. Um, Gosh, I feel so strongly about this. So I studied art history. So I'm an art historian by training, and I also was a curator. So I just studied a lot of art. And part of what makes my brand of coaching mine is that I see people like works of art now. I see everything like a work of art, but especially people. And so there's a lot of fear around AI, like, oh, AI is going to take our jobs. AI is going to eliminate me, make me redundant, right? AI is a tool that we have built as humans, and it essentially scrapes the internet and takes like the most reliable median of it and gives it to you. That is like a small percentage of what human beings are capable of accomplishing. What I think AI is fantastic for, actually, is calling us back to our humanity. Because ever since the Industrial Revolution at the turn of the 20th century, I would say, um, well, 19th century is when it began, I think. We have been subconsciously or consciously trying to be more and more like machines. Perfectionism is an aspect of this, right? Trying to be as productive as possible all the time is an aspect of this. We can't out machine AI. AI is going to run circles around us every single time. So it is a moment now to relax that part of you that feels the need to be productive and successful slash, or success depends on your definition of it, but like productive and perfect and flawless all the time, and step into your humanity, which is full of imperfections and flaws and mistakes, and interestingly so. Um, so this idea I have of exquisite work is my view on the future of work, which is that the way creatives are going to stand out in the AI era is to be exquisite and also do exquisite work. Um, you can define exquisite however you like. It's not just refined stuff. You can make an exquisite taco, right? And you can make an exquisite mud puddle. Like, but there's something about it. And what it comes down to for me is that you have a soul, Greg, because you're a human, and I have a soul. And when someone pours their soul into something, a piece of music, let's say, or a work of art, like that's hanging behind you, building this microphone setup that you have, you can feel it because it's like game recognized game. I feel the soul that went into that, right? AI doesn't have a soul yet. I hope it never does. They're gonna try, but I don't, we can't even figure out our own souls. I don't know how they're gonna figure out how to ensoul technology, right? So I'm not too worried about that. We have time for you to reconnect with your soul and become completely ensouled. And there's a lot of soullessness going on in the world right now too, which I think coaches can really help bridge the gap there.
I love that. It's beautiful. And I can tell how much you've been really intentionally reflecting on all this. Such a contribution. Say a little bit more about how coaches can help bridge that gap, or how coaches can help sort of uh, foster us back to what is available for us in this AI era.
Hmm. Well, bring it back to ACE and training, I didn't fully know it at the time, and I think it's something that I'm going to be spending my whole life contemplating. But ACE is, as far as I know, still an ontological coaching program. And there are all kinds of coaching. One of them is performance coaching, which is all about setting goals and just like knocking them out, like checking them off, doing a lot of stuff, not to denigrate it too much. I'm not as interested in that because if you have an limiting belief that you can't do something, then it doesn't matter how many times you write that goal down, you're going to thwart yourself. Your subconscious is going to thwart yourself. So doing only goes so far, right? Preaching to the choir here, I'm sure. But mm, how I think coaches can help us in this moment is with through presence. Um, being like fully present to someone, bearing full witness to them, that is a complete gift, and especially in the attention economy today. There are a billion things vying for your attention. And if somebody is, attention is everything. Without attention, you can't even do anything, right? Because you need to direct that light at something first. Coaches are trained to hold, like create a space, like hold a container, whatever words you want to put on it, and shine most, if not all of their attention, depending on how they're trained, onto you. And it's only when you're being regarded that way that you can get in touch with your humanity and your soul. Um, if a coach is let's say there's a moment where and this is a totally fine thing to do in a coaching session, by the way. Like that, let's say the coach sees that there's a need for some advice, right? And then they start intellectualizing what's going on, giving you analysis, giving you a thought process to follow, right? You can already feel the energy of that is different from like being when you're in the presence of someone who is like shining their soul at you. Um, and for better or worse, in our society where you and I are right now, there's a lot of head. And I think coaching is mind, body, spirit alignment. That's presence. Mind, body, heart, spirit, all of it. And that takes practice. And not only does it take practice, it's like a radically punk rock thing to do in this day and age because our most of us, our attention is splintered 100 different ways to Sunday. Like that's just how it is, especially if you have one of these, you know. Um, so yeah, I hope that was clear. That was kind of rambling, but
Yeah, no, it was. I appreciate it's sort of the radical act of giving someone your full attention and for them to experience that kind of presence that you're describing. I think that's very much at the heart of the ontological approach. I think there's also when you speak about presence, there's a lot of trainings out there, methods out there for improving your presence, and that's more of the doing approach. What I love about the ontological model is it's a way of, like you said, directing your attention, being very clear on who you are and then who the person you're coaching truly is, greater than their thoughts and worries and doubts. And when we're present to them in that way, our presence is there. We don't have to like work on having an inspiring presence or a confident presence or any of that stuff that people work really hard sometimes to develop. So
Mhm.
um, I love how you're describing it in terms of attention. Um, well, I want to shift uh, a little bit because I know that, you know, some of the main people who are going to be watching this are people who are new to coaching or are considering coaching, and they may be saying, well, this all sounds wonderful, and can I actually get clients? Especially, in an uncertain, rapidly changing economy with all that people are experiencing. Can I really get paid clients? So I'm curious, what you might say to newer coaches that you've learned over the last 10 years. And in particular, when we teach art of enrollment at the coach training program, we started talking about sort of two strategies, the short-term strategy and the long-term strategy. So we call it, use the metaphors, low-hanging fruit, balancing low-hanging fruit and slow, deep roots. And seeing that for a sustainable coaching practice, both need to happen. Right? It's like, what are the strategies that and I'll put it to you. What are the strategies that worked for you to just get your first handful of clients, just to get some experience to get your business going? And then what are the longer term strategies that you've focused on that over time have helped kind of grow your reach and bring in steady new clients?
Yes. I would add something to that, which is a medium-term strategy as well, but we can talk about that
I
later.
love it. Yeah, please. No, all
Yeah.
three.
Um, the best way to get your first clients is to not rely on your coaching business 100% for your income. Please do not quit your job and try to start coaching because you're gonna panic. And people are gonna feel that and they're gonna feel it in their body and they're not gonna really want to go move forward. Um, yeah, that's my probably my best advice. I'll just open with that. There's a how there, there's why there, and there's what there too, which I can get into. I'll just use myself as an example. I started part-time coaching first when I already had my basic needs met financially with a job, with a different job. Um, Building a business is like the most spiritual and the hardest thing that I do all day long. Um, you are, especially when you're a solopreneur, you are just constantly running into your own shit like all the time. And you need to have the backbone to do that. And worrying about money is the best way to mess with yourself, basically. I don't recommend it at all. Um, what I do recommend is starting slow and thoughtfully and with intention. And part-time can be a way to do that. Um, as Greg and I have already been discussing, being is a big part of how you are a coach. Everything is everything, basically. Like what I mean by that is how you land your first client is also how you probably brush your teeth and make dinner and go to bed, you know? Um, if it's hurried and frantic and stressed out, then that's gonna be your experience. And that was my experience, which is what I want to, part of why I'm here is I want to save people the grief that I put myself through. There is a better, easier way to build your coaching business, and it's not what it seems initially.
Good advice. Is there any of the longer term strategies that have kind of, because it points to, this is part of why we brought in this metaphor of slow deep roots versus low hanging fruit, because um, a lot of times, depending on who the coach is in your network, sometimes there is people just kind of waiting to start working with them, and a couple of
Yeah.
phone calls and they have their first clients. And what I've noticed is sometimes uh, a year in, 2 years in, 3 years in, that sort of starts to lower its return. And so people say, I need a bigger audience. And then they try to do uh, audience growing tactics like posting on social media or any content marketing, any of this stuff that by nature takes time. But they
Yeah.
do it with the urgency of, I need a client now. So now I've got to reach out to a broader audience, but there's no nurturing, there's not that ease that you're describing. So I'm curious, what are the longer term tactics that have worked for you, maybe that you see you might have even started earlier, um, that folks might try that are by design not going to get you clients immediately, but maybe a year or two down the road will start to bring in new clients.
This is a great question. Yeah, so I just want to quickly reiterate, like, help people, reach out to people when you do not need anything from them. That's my number one rule of like quote unquote networking. It's really just being a human being, right? And doing what you need to do to take care of yourself so that you're not scrambling, frantic, and stressed out like I have been. And plenty of coaches I know have been as well. So that's number one. Number zero, probably. Long term, I mean, there's so much to say here. There are books and courses and whole swaths of the internet dedicated to this, right? Um, I'm a bit different from most ACE trained coaches in that I did not start my business as a referral-based business. My business started as an online business. So those games are different. They're same, but different. Um, and I would say it's very helpful to get, first of all, do both, like two-prong. I'm a huge fan of a two-prong strategy. Love a two-prong. So, but I focused on online business building because th that's just what I was doing. Um, I would say initially pick a lane, pick a swim lane. Do you have are you like, are you a maven? Do you just know a bunch of people? Do you love connecting people? Are you highly social? Are you extroverted, right? Then maybe building a referral-based business is a great place to start for you because you already are somebody who naturally builds relationships and nurtures them and cultivates them, right? If you're more like me and you seem extroverted, but you're actually very introverted, an online business can be a great way to start. I just loathed the idea of going into rooms and like talking about my coaching business. I actually never talk about my coaching business when I'm out, unless somebody is directly asking me what I do and how I do it. Um, that's just me. And having a successful online business allows me to not do that because I don't like to. But if you like to, then great, fuck, do it. You know, you're gonna do so well. Um, I hope it's okay that I'm cursing. Sorry.
Yes.
Uh, uh, so there's referral based or your community, let's say, right? And then there's online. And that's like two-pronged for a lot of things. My marketing strategy is two-pronged that way. It's online and in person. So choosing one to focus on first. Yeah.
Great. And if there were, for folks listening that say, oh, I didn't realize there was an option besides have a whole bunch of direct referral conversations, what might be a starting place? Because one of the things I'm appreciating is it emphasizes the importance of going slow, having financial stability as you're starting to build, taking care of yourself, doing it in a way that's sustainable, not rushed. And, especially for building a business online, because what you're pointing to, one of the things you're pointing to is there are many, many skills to develop, and that's going to take some time. And what would you say to someone to say, well, where might I start? What's kind of a starting point besides going out and having a bunch of referral conversations that can help me build a foundation of an online practice?
Great question. Before I get too far into this, I need to acknowledge my privilege and my luck. Um, I grew up in San Jose, California. This is like where Silicon Valley is, you know? And also I had a lot of I live in San Francisco. Like this is just where the internet is born, basically. If that's not you, that's okay. You can still build an online business that's very successful, and they're everywhere. People have done it. People do it every day. Um, I would say if you want to build an online business, you need a website. So try to get your name as a top level domain. Top level domain means .com at the end. Um, that is what the internet trusts the most. Even though there's all kinds of cool endings now, I highly recommend getting your .com with your name as much as possible. If you decide to do bigger and different things later, you can still use your name. Your name is your name, right? It's probably not going anywhere. Don't get caught up in branding right off the bat. Branding is like the most existential crisis-ridden thing that you could probably do as a business. So please do not start that way. Just get your name. Don't think about it too much. And if you have a unique name, great. If you don't, that's okay. You can come up with different ways to, the internet will tell you how to do this. Um, yeah, get a top level domain. that ends in .com that you can use as the in place of the brick and mortar, right? Like back in the day, people like walked by and like walked into a business, a place of business. That is your domain on the internet. So you need that.
Perfect. Very clear. Well, we could, I'm sure, talk another hour or more. But we're near the end of our time. So, um, is there anything else that you might say to an aspiring coach, that you would really just love for them to take away from this conversation?
Oh, so many things. Maybe I'll do a little bit of a rapid fire as it goes. How many minutes do we have?
Yeah, just go for it, rapid fire.
Okay, okay. Number one, if you are thinking, oh, I might be able to become a 6 or 7 figure coach, please don't think that way and start doing this work because you can. I mean, I technically am a 6 figure coach, but it's not about that. It, if you make it about that, it's going to be a very hard road. Um, Coaching to me, it appeals to it's the best job in the world, like to me, because I get to live my life to the fullest and get trained by, in concrete ways through courses like ACE, but also just by my life, um, and by my clients who they don't know this, but I get so much more out of the experience than they do maybe. Um, it's it's a paradigm shift from how you've been. It's almost like promising yourself that you're going to show up for yourself no matter what, and you're going to show up for these people no matter what. And there's something very powerful about that. Your whole, like the tectonic plates of your life will start to shift. It's it's not just like a cool, fun way to make money. Like the internet makes it seem like it's very soulful. And that's one of the reasons why I chose ACE is because they acknowledge that we have a human spirit and spirituality and you'll feel it in the room. There's like people who are very connected with their spirit are attracted to ACE. Um, and another thing I would say is money is not evil. You have to make money as a coach or you will not get better. The moment I chose, like, I was part-time for maybe 2 years and then I went full-time. I just went for it. The moment I chose to go full-time, I became a much better coach overnight. And that's not in everybody's plan or path, but it was for me. And the reason is you figure out how to get paid to do it, and you figure out how to do it as much as possible, which means contact hours with clients, which means every minute you are I don't mean to put anyone off, but like every minute you're in a session with a client, hopefully, ideally, you are in a process of look, see, tell the truth, take authentic action. And then that's a microcosm of a coaching session. You start to do that in the macro of your business and your life, and you can't stop after a while. So, yeah, I think that's a good place to end.
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you, Kat. Well, thank you so much for this conversation. How can people connect with you if they're interested in working with you? I know you have a newsletter. How would you love people to connect with you if they want to learn more and possibly explore working with you?
Yeah, sure. A really easy way to do it is to just subscribe to my newsletter. I'm Kat Koh, Katkoh .substack.com. Um, you can also find it easily on my website, which is katkoh.com. And
We'll put
I,
those both those links in the description.
awesome. That would be great. Um, and yeah, I'm just so excited for people who are considering this as a path. It's probably because there's a huge part of you that is a coach and has always been a coach already. What it means to be a coach is like a lifelong meditation, contemplation, in my experience. So it's just going to keep changing. And so exciting that you're considering it.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Kat. So great to connect in this way. You're such a contribution to the coaching community, to ACE. We're just so proud to have you out there in the world coaching. So thanks again, Kat.
Thank you. I owe Ace a lot. Thank you very much.